Okay, so those were just a few moments from the last 2 weeks. It's hard to believe that the Trump presidency is 2 weeks old today. 2 weeks ago, he was inaugurated. And joining me now are two people that I suspect have very differing opinions on how he has performed so far. Of course, former Councillor Doug Ford and Ann Kingston, senior writer with Maclean. So thank you for joining us. And where shall we begin? How would each of you, and Doug, we'll start with you, how would you sum up the last 2 weeks?
Well, I think he's really taken off out of the gate. He's signed a tremendous amount of executive orders.
Do you agree with all of them?
One, to the exception of the ban of the 7 countries. And the reason I say that, Cynthia, because you can't stereotype everyone within a country, because there's a lot of bad guys out there. Bad people. But you can't stereotype everyone from those countries, because a lot of people from those countries came to Canada. I know them personally, and they're great people. They're productive to society.
So that is what he is doing. How can you, condone that or find favor with him when that is such a fundamental issue?
That's one part, but you have to look at all the positive executive orders, all the positive people he's been speaking to. Here's a couple positives right off the hop. When the car companies, they're going to stop outsourcing down to Mexico. They're putting billions of dollars back into the country. For instance, Ford, General Motors, the high-tech companies are coming back into the country. I think it's a positive move. And you look at the confidence. I think the confidence down there overall is pretty strong right now.
Ann Kingston, your turn.
Okay, I think I agree that he was fast out of the gate like a missile, but there was this underlying that, the barrage of executive orders, there was a certain creative disruption that was taking place. We've seen so much happen in the past 2 weeks, it's hard to imagine that it's only been 2 weeks. I think the Muslim ban obviously has dominated sort of public conversation and outrage and so forth, but we're also talking about a wider, swath of underlying the Muslim ban, as you pointed out. There are concerns about Trump's business issues, for his own business involvement. There was no ban, for instance, on any countries where he had his involvement of Trump Industries. Also, I've been watching sort of a coarsening of discourse in the United States, and I think that Trump has very much sort of led the way in this regard, not mentioning the mosque, shootings in Quebec, for instance, is one example. Also at the prayer breakfast, where he, used the opportunity to basically flog his own show, and there was a level of disrespect for the office, but also I'm just watching it as, sort of within, from where I'm sitting, as a coarsening of discourse across the country. We're seeing pictures of teenage high school students giving the Nazi salute in Texas. There's an emboldening and a change of civil discourse in the United States that has happened so quickly, and that's what I've had my eye on.
Doug, you see, you're stereotyping there, Ann. One lunatic kid, or a few lunatic kids, of these swastikas. It's not a Muslim ban. I want to remind everyone, there's 44 countries, predominantly Muslim, that are allowed into the United States. Do I agree with banning the 6 or 7 countries? I don't agree with it. But we can't stereotype and call it a Muslim ban, because there was 324,000 people that entered the U.S. that weekend. 109 were detained for a few hours, and then they were released.
It seems to be a selective Muslim ban.
I would say, yes, I think we should qualify it. But Trump himself referred to it as a ban. People within his administration have called it a ban.
Yeah, but not a Muslim ban, because that's just not accurate. And I'm one sitting here saying I don't agree with it, but it's not a Muslim ban, because we have Muslim employees that just crossed the border. As I say, I sat down with my Muslim brother that lived with us for 10 years from Morocco and had his input yesterday. So I'm looking at more the the economy more than anything. I think there's going to be a boost in the economy. He's going to lower corporate tax rates. Right now, they have some of the highest corporate tax rates in the entire world.
Well, you are a Chicago businessman as well. You have your company
and you know
there.
what's funny? Our Chicago business, our New Jersey business, is a subsidiary of Deco Canada. Reason being, we're paying 10% lower taxes corporately here in Canada than in the U.S. Once he lowers that corporate tax rate, then I think it's game on. And there's going to be trillions of dollars going into the U.S.
And we've been talking about the obvious issues that have received the most media attention. Are there things that you're concerned about that the media is not focusing, that aren't getting the headlines as much?
Well, I think what we've seen, because so much has happened, that it's been difficult to cover everything equally. And I think that we're seeing subtle signs of a lot of different things. Privatization, which I'm sure my seatmate here will see differently than I do. For the public parks, for instance, selling off of public assets, the separation of, or the lack of separation of church and state, which is one of these fuzzier areas, but we're looking at constitutional issues that I think we haven't been able to drill down because so much has been happening on the surface. But certainly all of those things are concerning to me. And I think that we cannot untangle his corporate interests. Again, a level of corruption and lack of transparency that's very concerning.
I hate to say it. I know we could talk for a lot longer, and we will, I'm sure, the three of us, but our time is up. But please come back and we can carry on this conversation. I have a feeling he's going to give us a lot to talk about.
Definitely.
Over the next few weeks, months, and years. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And we will definitely do this again. Danielle, right now, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Super Bowl Sunday is nothing like it, and it's coming up in a few short days. And for the 8th time in NFL history, we've got the highest scoring offense taking on the league's stingiest defense. And if you can believe it, 15 years ago to the day, Tom Brady participated in his first ever Super Bowl